Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Shong. Differences between New Zealand and its top trading partner China are becoming harder to reconcile as Beijing's role in the world grows and changes. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said on Monday, May 3rd. The comments come as New Zealand faces pressure from some elements among Western allies over its reluctance to use the Five Eyes intelligence and security alliance to criticize Beijing. In a speech at the China Business Summit in Auckland, Ardern said there are things on which China and New Zealand do not, cannot, and will not agree, but added these differences need not define their relationship. In comments that sparked some reaction among Western allies, Foreign Affairs Minister Nanaia Mahuta said last month she was uncomfortable expanding the role of Five Eyes, which includes Australia, Britain, Canada, and the United States. Geoffrey Miller is an international analyst at the political website Democracy Project. He said that Prime Minister Ardern's speech appears to be crafted to deflect surprisingly sharp and severe criticism from commentators after Mahuta's remarks last month. However, the comments do not change New Zealand's overall shift to a more China-friendly or at least more neutral position. Ardern and Mahuta are selling the new stance as New Zealand advancing an independent foreign policy that is not loyal to any major bloc. China, which takes almost one-third of New Zealand's export, has accused the Five Eyes of ganging up on it by issuing statements on Hong Kong and the treatment of ethnic Muslim Uyghurs in Xinjiang. Ardern said New Zealand would continue to speak about these issues individually as well as through its partners, noting that managing the relationship with China is not always going to be easy. China's ambassador to New Zealand, Wu Shi, who also spoke at the event, warned that Hong Kong and Xinjiang-related issues were China's internal affairs. Beijing is engaged in a diplomatic role with Australia and has imposed trade restrictions after Canberra lobbied for an international inquiry into the source of the coronavirus. China denies the curbs are reprisals, saying reduced imports of Australian products are the result of buyers' own decisions. When asked if New Zealand would risk trade punishment with China, as did Australia, to uphold values, Ardern said, quote, "It would be a concern to anyone in New Zealand if the consideration was, do we speak on this or are we too worried of economic impacts?" Unquote. Over the weekend, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said in an interview that aired on Sunday that China had recently acted more aggressively abroad and was behaving increasingly in adversarial ways. Asked by CBS News 60 Minutes if Washington was heading toward a military confrontation with Beijing, Blinken said, "It's profoundly against the interests of both China and the United States to get to that point, or even to head in that direction." He added, "What we've witnessed over the last several years in China acting more repressively at home and more aggressively abroad, that is a fact." Asked about the reported theft of hundreds of billions of dollars or more in U.S. trade secrets and intellectual property by China, Blinken said the Biden administration had real concerns about IP issue. He said it sounded like the actions of someone who's trying to compete unfairly and increasingly in adversarial ways. But we are much more effective and stronger when we are bringing like-minded and similarly aggrieved countries together to say to Beijing, this can't stand and it won't stand. On Friday, April 30th, Biden administration said China had fallen short on its commitments to protect American intellectual property in the Phase 1 U.S.-China trade deal signed last year. The commitments were part of the sweeping deal between former President Donald Trump's administration and Beijing. which included regulatory changes on agricultural biotechnology and the commitments to purchase some $200 billion in U.S. exports over 2 years. In the interview, Blinken said the United States was not aiming to contain China, but to uphold this rules-based order that China is posing a challenge to. Anyone who poses a challenge to that order, we are going to stand up and defend it. Biden has identified the competition with China as his administration's greatest foreign policy challenge. In his first speech to Congress last Wednesday, he pledged to maintain a strong U.S. military presence in the Indo-Pacific and to boost U.S. technological development. Last month, Blinken said the United States was concerned about China's aggressive actions against Taiwan and warned it would be a serious mistake for anyone to try to change status quo in the Western Pacific by force. The United States has a long-standing commitment under the Taiwan Relations Act to ensure that self-governing Taiwan has the ability to defend itself and to sustain peace and security in the Western Pacific, Blinken said. Taiwan has complained over the past few months of repeated missions by China's Air Force near the island, which China claims as its own. In the meantime, the Philippines has protested China's dangerous maneuver against its Coast Guard that patrolled and trained last month near a South China Sea shoal, with Manila's top diplomats issuing expletive-laden remarks towards Beijing. The Chinese Coast Guard shadowed, blocked, and issued radio challenges on Manila's crew near Scarborough Shoal, the Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs said in a statement Monday, May 3rd, announcing that it has protested China's actions. China's claim over the shoal that's 124 nautical miles from the Philippines is without a base, and Beijing has no law enforcement rights in these areas, it said. The Philippines Foreign Ministry said it had also protested the incessant, illegal, prolonged, and increasing presence of China's fishing vessels and the maritime militia in its economic zone. The latest remarks from Manila signal a further deepening of tensions with Beijing in South China Sea. The Philippines had sent more vessels and held exercise in the contested waters, even as President Rodrigo Duterte said he won't confront China. Beijing has said that the presence of its vessels in the area is normal and legitimate. Philippine Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin on Monday posted a strongly worded statement on Twitter, asking China to get out of the disputed waters. His agency made the same call for the withdrawal of Chinese vessels around the Scarborough Shoal and the Calayan group of islands in the Spratly Islands in its May 3rd statement. Scarborough Shoal is within the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, its government said, while it's approximately 472 nautical miles from the nearest coast of China. The Philippines will continue patrols in the South China Sea, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said in a separate statement Sunday. The government will not waver in its position. We will not leave, he said. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.